Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Cosmic Owl Astrology. I am Louise Eddington, the Cosmic Owl and the Cyberpunk Witch Priestess to the stars. And I'm here to talk about the Libra full moon. I'm just got home yesterday from a few amazing days away with my husband after a really, really deeply intense series workshop, which actually kind of took quite a lot out of me, but in a good way. It was kind of so immense, and I'm getting all these kind of emails about it, and um, the people who attended are just kind of like, they really got a lot out of it too. So I'm actually working on a way to combine the series work with my Venus retrograde heroine's journey class that's coming in September. And you know me, if you do know me, I will have added more to the series by then as well. So this just feels like the core body of my work in many ways. And I'll be talking about Venus, Ceres, and Pluto more and more. Anyway, but all that to say, well, I'm also, I did send an email out to my email list. I'm offering um, a discount code off consultations for 10 people. So I'll put the link below with the code. I don't think anybody's signed up for it yet, but whatever, it's all good. I've got books to write too. But if you're looking for a consultation, I'm doing less and less of them because, well, at the moment anyway, because I've got 2 books to write and I've got a really busy year ahead. So if you are wanting a consultation at all, grab one with the discount code. I'll put it in the description. So I pulled cards as usual for the full moon, and I'll come back to the cards at the end. I pulled 4 because it's a pretty big full moon, but it's actually a good one. Anyway, 2 of Torches, lovely card. I'll obviously come back to the full Justice. It is the Libra full moon, right? King Bee. And the Rescuer, which we keep getting, and I have some comments again on that. Just want to grab a book that I'm going to talk about. But anyway, while I was away, I saw Boy George and Culture Club, if you remember them. Oof. Then we had the most magical night in the desert with Johnny Marr, who was the guitarist with the Smiths. But, they were only together for 5 years. He's been, making music and touring on his own since 87, I think. Anyway, I just love him. His music, and he's just a nice guy. He's a really nice guy. And we went to this really small venue in the desert and got to meet him. And he signed my arm, and I'm getting it tattooed. And here's my Hekate tattoo, by the way. Anyway, and then on the way home after that, and this band were his support. Check them out. They are great if you like rock music. They used to be in the Pretenders too. And one other thing, on the way home, we had to stay in Vegas on way home because we couldn't do it all in one drive, and we went to see Donny Osmond's show. So it's a bit of a mixed experience, and that was like a life review for me because Donny Osmond is 2 years older than me, and we only had 3 channels when I was a kid growing up with on TV. And I grew up watching him on the Andy Williams show, even in the UK. And, I had, when I was a bit older, 13, I had my wall plastered with pictures of Donny. So that was a real, just kind of like bringing up all these memories. It was amazing. So these are kind of the times we're living in, though. So I'm not just giving you my life story because of this, but we've also got a Libra full moon here, and Venus is very related to music. By the way, Johnny Marr's sun, he has an amazing Scorpio stellium. His sun is exactly conjunct my Venus. So there you go. So no, I don't fancy him in that way. It's just Anyway, I might do a little talk about his chart. We don't have a time, but just how he showed up as his chart so clearly when I met him. It was just wow. Anyway, this is the moon. We're on April the 1st, April Fool's Day, haha. And so Wednesday, this is always, as always, set for Washington, D.C. It will actually be on Thursday for many of you because this is Eastern time. So calculate it for yourself, for your own time zone. But it's overnight, Wednesday into Thursday morning for most of us, a bit later for, Australians and New Zealanders and etc. So it's a 12-degree, 21 Libra full moon, so opposing the sun. It's actually square to Jupiter and square to Pholus, Centaur Pholus. So this is making a cardinal grand cross or grand square. But, just look at this whole chart. It's so compact now. Look at the Aries energy really building. Mars is on its way into Aries soon as well. Pallas Athena will be moving into Aries. Mercury's going to move into Aries. Venus has left Aries, however, but this is the most intense Aries month. And it's very fiery. Well, there was a huge house fire just up the road from our house while we were away. This big house just is totaled, basically. And it was quite the drama, even though we weren't here, we were getting all the messages about it. And so, it's very fiery energy. And we did have big fires in Nebraska, but people are very fired up as well. Of course, we had the No Kings marches. Apparently, there was about 8 million people. I was on the road, so I didn't go, but I'm very involved locally in politics, so I don't feel like I need to march because I think we need other things as well.
Be able to get your current location.
Oh, sorry, my watch was talking. So it's very fiery. People are very fired up, very inspired. I think the cards will show that. And I'll talk about what all this means. But of course, Libra's guiding planet is Venus. It's Venus is the guide in Western exoteric astrology for Libra and Taurus. And Venus is in her sign as well. She's in Taurus and she's coming up to conjunct Ceres. So mother, daughter, if you like, Demeter, Persephone are coming up to meet as well. But this full moon, I'm going to say, is also opposing in the sun conjunct Saturn. I know it's 7 degrees, but this is the sun. So it's a big aspect. So that's adding to this. So I'm going to stop the share and talk about it all in a minute, but a couple of things I want to point out of kind of where we're at in kind of the process of becoming. The nodes are still at 8 degrees. I think they are there till about April the 13th. That's the degree they've sat at right through the eclipses. So that's that potent degree where Mercury stationed direct, Venus emerged from her underworld at that degree, conjunct the North Node as well. It's been a very potent degree, and we've talked about that one a lot. Hekate is at 12 Aquarius. And I'm going to say Pluto is conjunct Hekate too, because she is exactly aspecting this full moon by 10 solar arc minutes. So I'll talk about that a little bit as well. And are there any other aspects I want to talk about? Nope, I don't think so. So I don't want you to get too tied up with all of this. So what am I going to say first of all about this? Well, Libra. Let's look at Libra first. It is a Libra full moon. Just going back to the shape of this chart for a minute for you all, even with all my extras. Most of the energies are contained between Pholus and Jupiter on this side of the chart. Yes, I've got a couple of extras, but so the moon is kind of carrying all of this energy, right? Which is a big lot of energy to carry. So I just wanted you to look at the shape. So she's carrying the moon is the handle of this basket. And the moon really is our the moon is our emotions, it's how we feel, it's the people in mundane astrology as well. And this is making a cardinal grand cross with such a lot on the moon. So whilst I think it's a big quite a nice creative lunation, it's also carrying a lot of weight. And full moons are really heightened energy already anyway. And a cardinal grand cross that it's making really it is about taking charge and starting projects, because it's all in initiatory signs, but it's high tension because it's this cardinal grand cross. It's kind of like this forged in fire kind of energy. So it can bring some challenges that ultimately bring resilience, skills, and accomplishment. Okay. But it is a bit of a one step forward, two steps back kind of energy, a push pull kind of energy, because it's it's two oppositions or four squares, right? So it does distribute the energy and the tension throughout the chart, and so it's not as stagnating as maybe a fixed grand cross might be. And the idea with a grand cross is integration. So this is definitely kind of about creating change, okay, and being dedicated to create the change, okay. And the square to Jupiter in Cancer is making this as well very very huge. Jupiter expands everything, and Jupiter is in the moon sign. So here we have this Libra full moon squaring Jupiter, and it's in the moon's sign. So really, it's this is really about our identity in so many ways. Aries is really the I am. Cancer is kind of like how our inner life or our self-image, it can be the nature of the early family environment, but it's kind of who we are more in our inner family and how we see ourselves and feel about ourselves within as well. And then we have Libra, which was where the full moon is, so I will come back to that in a minute. But then we also have the Capricorn end of it, where we have Pholus, which I always call the Pandora's box kind of energy of in the sign of the structures and institutions and governments and things that we live under, but also in the sign of wise elderhood in many ways as well. So all of this really is integrating who we are in the world, okay, collectively and individually. And Libra is our primary relationships, but it's also our relationship to all that is other. Okay. So Libra is also, about balance and justice as well, of course, and it can be very impartial, but it's also, and it's really good at initiating ideas. It's a very creative sign, very kind, very peaceable generally, but it can also be a fence sitter. So, where did I talk about the Cardinal Grand Cross being what the word forged in fire? This is like, this full moon, I think, is saying, no, I'm S-H-I-T, as my family used to say, or get off the pot. Kind of, it's time to do your bit. Now, I'm quite involved collectively, politically. As I said, I was not at the No King's March, but, I was looking a lot online about what was being said about it. A lot of people were saying, is this all you're doing? Marching is great. It brings everybody together. it gives the message, but are you also maybe a delegate for in local elections, or are you involved somehow in at least calling your representatives, or are you helping to register people to vote, or are you doing some other kind of community um, exercises to create change? Because and this can apply to every country, right? So I'm also going to just read you something I shared. I found that somebody, well, a lot of people were sharing it. A post about the upcoming protests, about whether they're effective or are they just performative activism. Because are people going to do that and feel that that's enough, that's all they've done? Anyway, because we're obviously in trouble in a lot of places in the world, I thought I would read the suggestions really quick. Here's where true systemic change occurred historically after protest mobilization. This is written by Caroline J. Sumlin. Economic warfare, for example, that like the bus boycotts and things like that. Structural change rarely occurs until pockets are deeply affected. So that's something that that standards not force by the former Black Panther are working on. They're getting the policies that companies are using and just gathering all this information as to whether people should work with them. But and so the courtroom, obviously, how Libra is that you may not be able to do that, but you may be able to donate to the ACLU, for example, who do great work. Voter registration and mobilization is another one that I talked about. Coordinated arrests. I'm not wanting to do that one, but it people are doing it. Actually, I've started to see them. So I'm not saying everybody should do this. These are ideas. Legislative lobbying. There's a lot. We do that a lot here in Utah, and I'm sure other people do. You can join caucuses and groups of people who will tell you what's being discussed, what bills are up, and you can literally go to your, if you live near the Capitol building, and lobby your legislators, or you can do it on by email or phone, right? But also protests with specific targets. Apparently, MLK admitted his early protests were too general, thus creating no outcome. He said it himself. Once he began organizing protests with specific demands, change begins to happen. So, that was specific to the No Kings. But, there's always also a site that we've shared a few times, Kathy and I, as art as activism. All these things, there's things people can do, right, to create the change they want to do. And really, because this full moon is Libra is the people in justice, in the sign that seeks balance, squaring Pholus, where we've kind of seen all this lack of integrity and corruption and how structures are not working. We can't put the lid back on because the lid's off. We can't see that it's everywhere globally. This is. And then Jupiter in Cancer is affecting our basis of security and our sense of safety and security in this world, and expanding the emotions around it. And then we have the Sun in Aries, which is very direct and wants to take direct action. And the Sun is conjunct Saturn, which is, very determined. I like Saturn in Aries. I think it's very determined. We can see all the sides kind of being quite determined right now, but we can also choose to lean into that more. I'm just going to pause because my cat she's doing it again. She does this every time. I'll just let her out and come back. All right, she's gone. Oh, by the way, this is by She Who Is on art on Facebook and Etsy. Look at this lovely picture for April the 1st. It has this ring and birds flying, by the way, and Libra is an air sign. So, but I also wanted to talk to this aspect to Hekate. Okay. So I do widely feel that this full moon is pulling in Pluto as well. So transformation. Saturn and Pluto are both at the same degree now. They're not exactly met, but this is really starting to activate these big change-making aspects between Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto that will peak in July. But Hecate is at 12 Aquarius, and she is here. She is the torch. She is the lady at the crossroads. She is the triple moon goddess, so she is related to this lunar energy. And so she is in the sign of Aquarius, an air sign, but a sign of the future and the sign of humanitarianism and the sign of the people, sign of technology as well. But she is guiding us. She is standing there at this big crossroads, literally a full moon crossroads, saying, a grand cross, saying, I can show you the way forward. And in Aquarius, that's very much about hopes and dreams and wishes for the future. But it's also about pulling the pieces together and kind of creating it. You know, Aquarius is this weird kind of mix of innovation and very traditional. I've often talked about it in terms of like bringing the very ancient in a very modern way. And how can we pull all that together to create something huge? And then Venus, you know, Venus is the guide for the sign of Libra, and she's in Taurus at 2 Taurus. Incidentally, that's where Ceres was at the start of my Ceres workshop, and that's her own sign too. And in Venus in Taurus is very much about rootedness and values and core values and making things manifest, right? I've related Venus and Jupiter a lot to manifestation in many ways. Jupiter is kind of the natural laws of the zodiac, so the laws of compensation, the law of attraction. Yes, that's the best known one, but there's many. Look them up. And when we are in alignment with the cosmos, the two work together. Venus is the actual creative energy. Jupiter expands it. And Venus is very much about in Taurus, is very much about our senses, our roots, our core values, what you can see, hear, feel, touch. So reciprocity is coming up for me, mutual aid. We're talking about all these things we can do to change, to harness that Sun and Saturn in Aries, right? That determination to be the change that we want to see in the world. So many things we could do. You know, you do not have to go march, and don't feel guilty if you didn't, but also think that if you did, it can't stop there. You know, not with the way the world is right now. We are moving into a time of recognizing that everything is interconnected, and I've talked about it many times. And the Aries energy is saying it's time to step up. Okay. And this Cardinal Grand Cross is forcing this as well. This kind of forged in fire energy, right? So let's talk about the numbers a little bit as well. And so it's the 12 degrees. I find it interesting that the full moon is at 12 and 21. So it's 12 and then 12 reversed. So 12 is a lovely number though. 12 is charismatic, self-reliant, often very creative as well. But 12 is also the completed cycle of experience. Oh, say, okay. It in many, many ways, 12 is about just this completeness, right? We have um, 12 astrology signs. You know, we have 12 houses in astrology. According to ridingthebeast.com, 12 is the number of what is completed, which forms a whole, a perfect and harmonious unit. It's the medicine wheel, if you like. Or what have I got up here? The wisdom wheel. I've got a poster that is called the wisdom wheel. And it's in many cultures, it's this circle of the whole of the 12. You know, there's many things about it. R. Alendi, whoever that was, tells that it expresses the idea that the universe forms a whole, associated with the idea of differentiation. It also is said to manifest the Trinity to the four corners of the horizon. So that's the medicine wheel, north, east, south, west. Okay, the four directions, but this 3 times 4 is 12. So mind, body, spirit. I always think of that as the Trinity. And, you know, there's many things, you know, 12 breads, which the Christ broke in the Last Supper. It's also the number that's attributed to the government of the world or the cosmos, interestingly. But in its creative capacity and in some religions, the older ones, it also expresses the Divine Mother. And here we have Venus at 2 degrees, the guide for the Libra moon, at 2 degrees, which is said to be the Divine Feminine. And Ceres is at 6 degrees, Taurus, which I think she is the guide for Taurus as well, co-guide, call it, whatever, you know, and that's the number of the Divine Mother as well. And here we have the 1 and the 2, the 12, and reversed in the minutes, 21, 1 Divine Masculine, 2 Divine Feminine. This is an amazing opportunity to push for creating the change in some way that you want to see in the world, okay, and initiating something new. I've been witnessing it out there with people talking about it so much. Obviously, if you have anything around, you know, those middle degrees, particularly 12 degree of cardinal signs, you are going to be affected by this much more. But this is a very potent, heightened, forging your path full moon, in my opinion. And I think that's all I'm going to say about it, actually. Let me just look at the chart one more time. It's trying to forge your path and create, okay, in all ways, you know, for yourself personally as well, of course. Venus is incidentally in the chart opposing Haumea, which is regeneration and rebirth. And this is a really pushy full moon as well, because I've got all this energy in Aries, you know, clustered towards the end of the sign. We have Black Moon Lilith, I always call it, asteroid Lilith, talk to the hand, Eris, Chiron, Chiron's daughter, Okiroi is there too. They are all tightly together saying, flip some tables. I saw somebody literally say it's time to flip tables, and I'm like, oh, you think it's just time to flip tables? But anyway. But Hekate, that triple moon goddess, is showing us the way. And if you know, like altars or like offerings at crossroads, this full moon is a really good time to perhaps make a little or light a candle to Hekate, ask her a question. Which way forward for me? Hekate has keys. You can't quite see it in this picture. This is from She Who Is as well. She carries keys to the underworld. She's also got ravens on in this one, which I love, and a full moon behind her. But also you could go and read that book, Hekate, by Nikita Gill, that I talked about before, because it's amazing. All right, so I'm going to go to the cards, and I think, oh, I just need this. Oh, I've got the book here, actually. I can show you. There it is. Amazing. I listened to it on Audible, but I had to buy this because look at the cover. Look at the owls. Anyway, amazing book, amazing author, amazing poet. So anyway, go back to the cards, and then I'm going out to get my tattoo. Two of Torches. So the Two of Torches is fire. So remember I said it's kind of forged in fire. In fact, I think I'll just call this I think I'll just call this full moon forged in fire. This is I am opportunities in this deck particularly. So, you know, sometimes our light goes out but is blown into flame by another human being. Each of us owes deepest thanks to those who have rekindled this light. That's Albert Schweitzer. So this is, you know, keep your eyes on the flames and keep your feet firmly on the ground, Venus in Taurus and Ceres, so that you don't risk losing this fiery opportunity. Okay. And the Libra moon is going to fan the flames of that Aries, okay, because it's holding all that stuff. So anyway, I am opportunities. I'm also just going to look at my thing from my book on Astro. So it's obviously that's Two of Torches, and in a lot of other decks it's Two of Wands. So this is the planet, the sign for this is Aries. Okay, and it's the Mars decan, the Two of Wands, and that is passion, force, effing do something. Okay. Fire, obviously, but it's the number 2, which is the divine feminine, but it's also a number of balance. Okay, so this is planning, exploring options, decisions, holding the world in your hands, and it's a new phase and goals. Okay, next card. Yay, justice. I know it's coming. I think it's coming. I don't know if everybody saw, but our apparent resident of the White House, there was a guy, I can't remember his name now, at CPAC, which is the conservative, very conservative conference, where Trump actually cancelled his appearance there. Well, anyway, this guy came out and said something about Trump being impeached, expecting everybody to go, no way. Well, there was cheers for it at this conference. So just saying, you can find that online, I think. So it's number 8 is justice. And of course, we've got the nodes stat at 8 degrees still. But this is I am accountable. And injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. That was the quote with Martin Luther King again. He's come up twice. But this is somewhere in our life or your life, you may be feeling the need for justice and are demanding resolution, balance, and integrity. You may be angry. Do you need to explore your own actions and opinions prior to handing out harsh judgments? Have you been unjust? Or if so, where does that arise from? Your shadow holds your unconscious rage. You are encouraged to find your own truth and to be truthful with yourself in all things. We all have a responsibility to help create a better world in whichever way we can. Oh, do you think she was listening to what I just said in all of that? Well, anyway, let me read what I wrote in my own book. I don't know why I feel the need to bring my own book out this time, but I just do. So it's the Libra card, of course, which is air. And in numerology, it's 11, which is balance. Because in some decks, the Justice card is 11. In the Red Seeds Tarot, it's 8. So anyway, so this is accountability, justice, fairness, and balance. There you go. Last tarot card, and then we'll just look at the rescuer again. King Bee. Fire. This is air. Sorry, again, the King Bee. And it's a Libra air. Can't make this stuff up ever. I really love this full moon, and I'm doing it obviously quite close to the full moon because I've been away, but this is Zeus, Jupiter, and it's I am thinking. The men of experiment are like the ant. They only collect and use, but the bee gathers its materials from the flowers of the garden and of the field, but transforms and digests it by a power of its own. That's Da Vinci. There's that creativity. I'm just like, this is about good, solid counsel and having an open mind and a loving heart, apparently, as well. Last thing, I will look at this in my book, but then I will do the last card and love you and leave you. So it's the swords in, of course, in most. So this is all air and fire signs, and is all about air and fire. And this is an air and fire full moon. And it really means rational thinking. That's very Aquarian. Remember, Hekate is there. And Libra. Authority, integrity, ethics, self-discipline, and strictness. That's it. I was listening to a call from Astrology Day on Kepler College's website when I did my walk this morning, and they were all talking about ethics. This is Libra. I studied ethics in school. Anyway, this is the rescuer. I'm not going to get the card out for that because we've had it before, but I just want to point out that this is a lamb. And Aries is really the lamb, not the ram, by the way, because it's lambing season. There's a book called Saving Astrology from the Patriarchy or something, or I can't remember the actual name. I should get it and put it in the description. But anyway, it's an okay book, but they talked about how, you know, the signs are based on the seasons in the Northern Hemisphere, and really Aries is the lamb. And you could say it's the lamb of God, of the cosmos, of birth, of the new starting something and birthing something. So what are we going to rescue in your life? Bye. Don't forget to subscribe and all the things.